Welcome back to the Breakfast Piano Project, where I'm creating a mob of mediocre musicians just like myself with my millennial mindset. My name is Miss Lindsey. I'm a Piano with Johnny student and also a private piano teacher for those who don't know any better. With my favorite holiday, New Year's, right around the corner, this gets me thinking about my New Year's goals and becoming a professional musician. I started playing when I was 7 years old, and I took piano lessons for about 10 years in adolescence, and then moved on to going to UNLV University, where I was on a full ride music scholarship and progressed through about 3 years of studies before I registered that I did not want to work for these people. This means that when I'm pursuing my craft as a professional performer, I want to keep my audience within the lines of my own value system. And for this, I need to bring up my prosperity triangle. Many of you know I write my own curriculum models to help my students and my parents see what type of ideas I'm drawing when I'm teaching you to do what I say. The prosperity triangle is about creating a fair and balanced interaction between performer, audience, and authority observation. One of the things I've noticed about many musicians pursuing a craft is that they're not really aware that they need this triangle dynamic. I've had so many adult musicians come to me saying, "I just want the music to feed my soul." And this is a lie. You guys, your music is for your audience. It's also for yourself, but it's a self-expression to your audience. It's not going to be fulfilling if you're not vulnerable enough to share your product with an audience and have their receptivity given back to you. And that's the notion of finding your audience. The second dynamic that you must have is going to be someone to shadow your progress and make sure it's going in a palatable and progressive direction. This is about finding someone that you idolize and trust doing what you, as a performer, admire and also want to emulate in your own way, in your own tone. It's incredibly important that when you find someone to shadow that you admire, that they haven't completely lost their soul. And that's going to be a base requirement for finding someone to be in charge of you. If you think that my soul is trustworthy, you can hire me at my website below. Most adults, I find, are either lacking in their ability to find an audience that resonates, or they're lacking in their ability to find someone that they trust to give them feedback. The most important thing about your performance, your audience receptivity, and your authority respect is going to be that everybody has an interest, a very high self-interest, in fulfilling their roles of the triangle. The prosperity triangle ensures an integritous relationship balance while the three of you pursue a positive shared experience together. Take responsibility of your role and don't abuse it. This is a teamwork environment. The practice plan is the performer's pursuit of his creative production content. And segue. As my audience idolizes me, I'm going to lead you through what program I'm writing for myself, and hopefully if you find it useful, you can also follow a template similar to this. Now, me personally, what I feel in my heart space is most adequate for a practice routine is to start at a 2-hour daily practice routine. Now, before you compare your expectation to my expectation of what I think should be a productive practice session, I want you to remember what your personal life looks like. And this brings us to our point number 1, preparing your space. To develop a productive workspace, it has to be yours, seductive and secluded, and you have to have the time in your schedule to work within that space. When I was younger, I had my parents' house and an abundance of time to practice, as well as a strict practice regime. When I switched into adulthood and decided to add all those variables of financial constraint, a full-time working career, some of you may even have kids, it immediately compiles stress on top of your goals and prosperity plans. It has taken me 10 years to design a space in which I can actually be productive. Now, the first thing that you're going to want to do when you design your secluded space is you're going to want to find agreement within the relationships around you that facilitate and support that space for you to be learning. One of the most important things I learned is that you have to stop fighting with people around you in order to be productive. Don't take a phone call with your mom if the only thing she's going to do is criticize your well-being. Dump him. If he's an idiot, this love is not special. Find a new job if the only thing your boss is going to do is stomp on your hopes and dreams and then drag you face first through the mud at a completely inadequate pay. If they don't support you in your piano goals and they think what you think is stupid, they are not a good authority figure or audience member for you. We need to be grounded and open-minded at the same time, and you don't want to be in an environment where that is not facilitated. Next, finances are a real thing. Living in poverty and accidentally ending up homeless 3 times is a real deal. And by the way, most people are ashamed that that happens to nice people, and so it gets a little bit weird when you have real-life problems and no one wants to hear about them. What you need to do is handle it! Handling your own problems allows you to focus when you accept them within yourself, which is accepting yourself. After you create your safe space and accept yourself, the next and final step to progression is opening your mind up big enough to then receive self-criticisms in a positive way. Who are these self-criticisms coming from? First and foremost, yourself. By designing this practice plan, you're going to be able to tell yourself whether you have fulfilled it or not. And you're going to be able to design a discipline routine of how badly you want to beat yourself up about it. For me, I give myself at least 3 to 5 beatings a day, and that seems to keep me in line and progressing towards all of my piano goals. With a safe space and self-acceptance, and finally, the want to do better than you currently are, you're going to start to feel your own effort ball rolling. If you find effort to be a stress response, which it was for me for the last 3 years, that means that you need to build up your physical stamina against the feeling of effort, which is kind of a low-level basic anxiety of not being good enough. In the last 3 years, I've been getting back into professional piano playing, and it's kind of been a mixed-up mess. I'm always having to go to the next project and figure out where my core focus is, and am I hitting all of my categories that I want to still be progressing and learning, and I'm really trying to get down an expectation of what I should hold myself accountable for. And so I bring to you my 2023 New Year's resolution to hold myself accountable to this practice plan expectation. One of the categories I teach is called fundamentals. This means I run major scales, minor scales, cadences, diatonic chords, and some basic hand exercises for finger dexterity. The fundamentals category is all about helping you play fast, accurately, and also understand musical relationships and connotations within the major and minor references. And these are notoriously not the fun stuff and the things that everyone skips, including my students. Go practice! I know you're watching! If I expect to play my fundamentals for 30 minutes a day, my goal is to prevent myself from skipping the boring stuff, the hard stuff, the annoying stuff, and get it out of the way so that my physicality can improve, and also the music theory in my mind can improve and get me ready for the next category. For 30 minutes a day, I would like to practice jazz fundamentals. Jazz is something that so many musicians actually just avoid. They just avoid it. Now, there could be something to be said about jazz being an excuse just to play wrong notes, which I almost agree with this. However, if you want to dive into the magical forest wonderland that is jazz, you're going to have to get on board with the deep, dark depths of the drug addiction that was the jazz era. 30 minutes of learning lounge jazz. I need to pick up something to apply some basic jazz voicings to and be working on it regularly. My third and fourth categories are going towards personal projects. Now, my personal projects are going to be expanding my live gigs to family-friendly venues. One of the things I've been working on very inconsistently last year is going to be music trivia. Music trivia is just like it sounds, which is where my audience guesses where this song came from, and it's based on video games, popular TV shows, and movies. Lastly, I have a segment dedicated towards my most prominent performance outlet at the moment, and that is nostalgic pop favorites. Not only do I have a family-friendly venue that pays me to play nostalgic pop favorites, but I also shadow piano bars which do nostalgic pop favorites for adult crowds. Right now, my most prominent job openings at more than one venue is going to be Can You Play Nostalgic Pop Favorites, and so I'm working on building my set list to be at least 3,000 songs, but that's a long ways away. Like a really long ways away. At an average of 86 hours a song. But it's fine. Stay optimistic. Now, after you have designed this perfect practice routine that you know you're going to upkeep to a perfectionistic mindset, you now have to apply a performance plan. Finding your stage is one of the most important things that you can do, and for any of you who want to play for yourself and stay at home, don't give in to your own cowardice. You need to share yourself eventually, so figure it out and do it! Hugs and kisses from Miss Lindsay. I have literally wrecked performances, and you want to know what? If you want to be a musician, you have to get over it, and it's not fun because your audience has no idea what's happening, they get highly confused, and you lead them through a negative, emotional experience. And you want to know what? It's totally fine, because a real audience will approve of your effort, not your perfectionistic mindset or overly indulgent product. For me, I have multiple outlets for my performances, YouTube being one of them. Yes, this is a performance. My eyes are not this big in person. Now, I know I was hard on some of you who may not be ready for a big stage, and so home evaluations can also be a stage. This is where I sit my boyfriend down and I tell him, this is the way I want to be seen. And I project on him what I want him to see in me. And then because I trust him, he usually kind of reels me in a little bit and then gives me a reality check. And that's called a home evaluation, where you experiment with your family. Instagram is my favorite addiction aside from black tea, and it's also a stage. Instagram can be incredibly great for new artists because you only have to take a video of 6 to 12 seconds according to the algorithm to hook people. So take a 6 or a 12-second video, but still post it and then wait for the anxiety-ridden self-criticism. Sometimes nobody likes anything that you put out, and you're really wrecked because it cost you 42 hours of practice and 75 takes. But you want to know what? You're producing a product, and it doesn't matter how many likes you get. It matters that you finished your production on your Instagram stage. The PWJ Facebook forum, of course, is one of my favorites because it's basically a ton of people sitting in their living room being like, oh, you're so good, Janice. And then they're like, no, you're so good, Karen. And then Paul is like, oh my God, I'm here all the time. And I regulate it so we don't get idiots in this platform. And it's like a giant family of musicians all coming together and supporting each other. And the best part about it is that everybody understands. I get some of my best feedback on the Piano with Johnny memberships page, and so thank you all for continuing to support me, as well as everybody else in this group. The point is, you have many applications to find your stage. You can have a small stage, you can have a big stage. Now, in setting my stage, I'm trying to lead myself through a positive experience that other people can admire and hopefully do the same thing, become inspired by it. I wish you the best in designing your practice plan. If you want more on practice techniques and how to attain the best productivity out of your practice session, you can always watch my video on 10 efficiency-based practice techniques. As you know, coming up next, we're going to be going through those Piano with Johnny lessons. Give me a little bit, you guys. I'm trying to cram in enough performances per month and get out at least one YouTube video a month. I hope you guys also attain your New Year's goals. Keep the product and progress going, and I'll see you next time.